shift that a bit. A bit over. It was on, everyone. Good evening. Welcome to tonight's overview and scrutiny meeting, everybody. Hope you're well. Thank you for everybody that is here for attending tonight. We'll get down to it without further ado. Just please do bear in mind that this meeting is being recorded, so anything you say, you're happy being in the public domain. Item 1, minutes. To approve the minutes of the Overview and Scrutiny Committee meeting of the 30th of September. Members, are you all happy to do so? Lovely. Thank you, everybody. Next item, number 2, apologies. Sorry.
Yes, we've got apologies from councillors Bond, Dufty, Susan Duncan, Harper Wallis, Kelly, Nelson, Reid, Sutton and Wilson.
Lovely, thank you very much. Item 3, do we have any declarations of interest? Councillor Martin Perry.
Thank you, Chair. In item food waste service update, item 8, declared interest as far as working with Veolia, so I'll exclude myself at that point.
Lovely, thank you, Councillor Perry. That is noted. Therefore, we move straight on to substantive business at item 4. This is the Integrated Performance Management Report for quarter 2, which you will find on pages 3 to 38 of your document pack. I believe we hand over now to Jackie. Oh, yes, please, Leader, if you'd like to introduce it. Councillor Perry.
Thank you very much. Good evening, members. Just to say that the report actually speaks for itself, I think. It's an excellent report, and I'll leave it to Jackie to explain things to you, and there might be any questions that we'll be happy to answer. Chairman, thank you.
Good evening, members. Really pleased to be here tonight to present what is now already half year through the year in terms of performance for the second year of the Council Plan 24 to 28. This quarter, as with any other, is demonstrating that we are meeting our objectives, which is in delivery of the council plan. But what I wanted to do for members particularly was highlight some of the highlights that we've had, particularly in quarter 2. So certainly in terms of, we've carried out a pulse survey, which we do on a regular basis now with our staff rather than an annual staff survey. We had the highest response rate that we've ever had, in that 84% of our staff actually completed the survey. Could be because it was only a couple of questions rather than the elongated previous ones that we've done. But most importantly, what it was showing is that staff are still feeling very comfortable working at the authority. There is that whole thing about the environment is still very much what really is a benefit to staff, and that they welcome those opportunities to continue to work in that flexible environment. Again, another highlight is the fact that, again, even though there's the issues around the economic climate that we're all in, occupancy at our commercial sites still remains high at 98%, and that is something where, again, even though there is that continuous turnover, the team are not having to do much to market the actual units. They are in fact being occupied and let very quickly in that turnaround. That's probably counterbalanced by the fact that we've got an absolutely brilliant enterprise team as well, who do a lot of engagement with businesses, both start-up and those that have actually been in the business for a very long time. And again, they're seeing that 428 businesses through the partnership are being supported and engaged, and certainly the business events that are taking place periodically, very well attended, and always get really good feedback from the businesses that engagement is really important to them. As members know, the Creating Brighter Futures team, which again, it's a part of a story really in some respects, is supporting those that are probably furthest away from that marketplace, again, in terms of helping them to either get into qualifications or into voluntary or employment. Again, the team have engaged and supported 80 economically inactive individuals in the quarter, which again, In numbers terms, it will never be a big number. It's about the principle of any one person that we're able to support into actually being able to progress well in their either work or their social skills is a person that it's well worth helping. And finally, just in terms of crime has decreased by 5% over the past 12 months. And I think I'm going to put a caveat to members now that one of the factors that we have with the crime rates is, as we know, South Staffordshire is a low crime area. However, in percentage terms, things can look very different. So certainly a bit of a caveat is to bear in mind potentially we may in the future see slight increases in percentage terms, but it is not because there is suddenly a change. It's the fact you can have literally one case can actually make it go up by 100%. So in percentage terms, it can look as though it's going in the wrong direction. And that's something I think just a little bit of a word of kind of caveat there for members that we may see that in future with some of the crime. And again, one of the things, again, really pleased at the team worked really hard with our customer services. As members know, we offer a whole range of access routes to access our services. But again, what we are seeing is with the more we're doing on a digital platform, 78% of our customers have actually made a distinctive choice to use digital channels as their means of accessing. And again, the feedback from that has meant that they are actually saying it's more convenient, it was easy to use. Those that struggle, we still are there and provide those means of access through the contact centre, through, I know a couple of members have recently written in complimenting particularly people like Karen Riley, who have been out working in the community, actually delivering those workshops and supporting people with welfare support particularly. So I think it's fair that we get that balance of the digital for those that want to use that channel, but we equally have the opportunities for those that prefer that still face-to-face contact. For the next part of the council plan for the next 6 months, we have some challenges ahead. So again, Beckham no doubt will probably want to mention that we have a pending funding reform and business rate reset, which is presenting a couple of challenges at the moment. It's probably a minor way of saying that, but that is a massive challenge for us. And it does affect performance because, as you know, our integrated performance is not just about performance, it's about the finance and the risks and all of those being integrated. We've also got our waste team here tonight as well, which again, in terms of some of the challenges around the regulations and the new waste service that will be rolled out in April 26. Again, that work has been started over 18 months ago and there's still a massive plan in terms of what needs to happen there. As you know, members as well, our housing pressure continues in terms of the balance of supply and demand don't match. And so therefore the team are having to be very innovative in their approach to actually supporting people who unfortunately find themselves as homeless. But again, the team are doing a really strong job there. But it does mean that there is pressure both financially and obviously on individuals. And it's only down as LGR. Dare I say that local government reorganisation presents a continuing challenge to us and will unfortunately really become a bit of a theme in terms of the challenges that we face in the foreseeable future. On saying that challenges, there are also opportunities. So we have some opportunities coming forward in terms of the economic growth and the strategic sites. Again, the digital transformation and customer experience, we're doing more and more to actually hopefully enhance those experiences and making it the best that it can be for our residents. And obviously, again, there is still around climate and biodiversity initiatives, there is still more that we're doing. And as members have seen in the Climate Change Action Plan, there is more to be progressed there. So with every challenge, there are also opportunities. So presenting to you tonight, members, the Q2, particularly half-year integrated performance management report. I think it's overall a very positive picture, but I don't want to underestimate. There's a lot of work that goes into actually delivering on that performance. It may feel a little bit as though, well, actually everything's been achieved. Is that realistic? It's not without effort, and there is those challenges that will come forward. I'm not intending to go through the 30 odd slides that are sitting in the pack, but more than happy, Chairman, if the members have any questions on any specifics in there, but hopefully it's all self-explanatory.
Lovely. Thank you very much, Jackie, for talking us through the highlights of your report here. Members, over to you. Do we have any questions? Councillor Harrison.
Thank you, Chair. It's just a quick one on the off-log planning indicators. So doing fantastically well in terms of getting applications decided and sorted out. Doing okay compared to the standard in terms of appeals, but not as well as our SIPFA family members. And I just wondered, is that just because we've just got percentages there and the actual numbers are low, or are the numbers high as well? Does that make sense? So is it just a percentage issue because we've only had a couple of major ones, for example, that go against us? Thank you.
Thanks, Jackie. Over to Annette.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you, Chair. So it is a percentage issue, but actually it is actually the number. So it's a bit of both, really. The number of majors, obviously, that we do have is quite small. So 2 applications and one and one that doesn't make it obviously has a big impact, and that's 50%. Whereas on the minors, then there's hundreds of applications, so that's more of an indicator. So obviously the local authorities that have more applications obviously have a better chance of getting a higher percentage number. It's a bit of a maths, really. It's not all that indicator is always the one that we have to be really careful with, and we're always watching for that very reason.
Lovely. Thank you, Annette, for that response. Apologies, I was looking in the wrong direction the first time round. I was looking at Jackie all the time. Councillor Allen next.
Thank you. First of all, thank you for the report, which is very good indeed, and I'm really pleased to see how many people we've helped with the Brighter Futures. Can you tell me how many people are on the homeless register at the moment, please, and how we are getting on with acquiring these properties? I noticed we've got one on lease already. Could you tell me how many people are accommodated in those properties and how many properties we have, so that we can look at demand and how to service that? Yes, one thing at a time.
So I can't tell you exactly how many homeless applicants we've got as of today. So I cannot certainly find that out for you, but I wouldn't off the top of my head, and I'm not going to pretend I know the answer to that one. In terms of the temporary accommodation, we've actually purchased 6 properties that we're now using. 2 of them are actually still being refurbished at the moment and won't be available till the new year. But we have in fact purchased 6 that we're using to sort of support us. We also then still do lease properties from the Housing Association, which again we've got access to. Interestingly, I was speaking to Ryan Criswell yesterday about it, and for the first time we've actually got a couple of temporary accommodation which we haven't had to turn round so quickly because we've got people that need them, and that's probably the first time I've had that conversation in a very long time. It's partly helping us in the fact that we do know potentially in the build up to Christmas, the demand for housing through homelessness tends to increase. And so Ryan was sort of saying he is hoping that we'll be in a flexible position that actually we'll be able to support them quite easily because we'll actually have some temporary accommodation that is fit and ready to be used. I think the other thing that we do quite often is use as well some of the certainly some of the applicants that we've seen approaching us aren't necessarily looking to stay in South Staffordshire. So the team have been working with other authorities because people want to be more possibly where their community might be and based there. So again, we're seeing that we're able to assist people to move to where they really want to be. And again, the team have done a lot of work with sort of 15 odd people now from the hotels that they've been able to support, but not one has been actually rehoused in this authority.
Lovely. Thank you very much, Jackie. Councillor Allen, do you want to come back? I got that sense.
Well, I've got several questions, so shall I just proceed? I've got things to ask. I noticed that the UK SPF funding is out of risk on the register. I wondered why that was, and could you explain a bit more about that, please, and what's left in that funding? And the other fund, I believe, is closed. Is it? There's two main funds on the go, weren't there?
Thank you, Jackie. Over to Annette. Oh, sorry, over to Beck.
It might be both of us. I can certainly answer on the reason why it's a risk, and that's because it finishes at the end of the current financial year. That funding stream does, and it's been on the risk register because last year there was a lot of uncertainty about whether it would continue into the current financial year as well, which is why it's a strategic risk. In terms of, there are still the two funding streams, aren't there? There's the UK SPF and then the rural fund as well. We've had both of those for the current financial year. I wouldn't be able to tell you at this point exactly how much is left. I don't know whether you've got approximate figures, Annette, so I might pass you over to Annette for that, but we can certainly come back to you with more definitive figures after the meeting. I'll just pass over to Annette.
So in terms of the Rural England Prosperity Fund, it is largely allocated in terms of expressions of interest at the moment, but obviously those don't all come to fruition. On the basis of what we've got at the moment, it's allocated. In terms of the UK share, the broader pot, there is some reallocated potential, which we've just reopened a bidding round with the closing date of the 1st of December, because again, we had lots of conversations with lots of bids at an early stage, and they don't all come to fruition. So we were absolutely clear, as we did last time, we landed the actual spend on a sixpence, I think was the expression that we used last time, because we didn't have to send any back. We want to be in exactly the same position again. So we've opened up another round, but obviously that will only be for proposals that are ready to spend, have all the necessary consents in place, etc., and can go on formal approval. And I think that kind of relates to the issue in terms of the risk as well. And I know a number of district councillors obviously also wearing their parish council hats had conversations with us in terms of that spend. Excuse me. And that is a risk in relation to that, because obviously there's lots of external factors that sometimes need to be considered, and that because we're not in control of that as the district council, we're relying on other third parties to spend that indeed is a risk to us, and that's why we recognise it as such. And I'll stop talking before I lose my voice.
Lovely, thank you, Annette, including battling through that. Councillor Allen, they're fighting over answering your questions here. How many questions do you have, Councillor Allen?
Yeah, I don't know. I'll be kind. Three.
Three. Okay, lovely. I tell you what. We'll take one more, and then if you don't mind, we'll advertise it out and I'll commit to coming back to you.
Yeah. Next question's really about the general fund year end. Okay, I'm pleased to see it's in large surplus. Are there any plans about what to do with that money in the terms of, because we're in the situation we're in where many of our assets are going to disappear, if we're making a surplus this year, is there a possibility of returning that in some way to our parishes or to our district in another way?
Lovely, thank you, Beck. To answer that, I think.
Yeah, thank you. Seamlessly, as Jackie mentioned, you'll be aware that we are going through or subject to the funding reform and business rates reset, which we've just had the policy statement announced around. So actually what that general fund reserves position will will do is to give us more resilience in dealing with the funding reductions that we will see as a result of that funding reform and business rates reset. So I will be briefing members in the next couple of weeks and bringing forward the draft MTFS, but we will need to be drawing down on those general fund reserves to help us deal with the funding reductions in future years.
Lovely, thank you, Beck.
I'm going to add another one.
Councillor, I'll advertise it out if you don't mind, and I will come back to you. Members, does anybody else want to go? Councillor Cope.
Thank you, Chairman. Jackie, the crime figures, do they include the prisons? I'm thinking of the prison in Featherstone. And as Councillor Brindle knows, we often get our crime figures spike when there are incidents in the prisons at Featherstone. There's 3,200 inhabitants there. We find that's in the figures on stats. Are those figures you quoted, the 5% increase, include the prisons?
Unfortunately, we can't separate them out. So you're absolutely right. The prison does get built into the figures, and it's really difficult because we would like to separate them out, but you can't. So you're absolutely right. That does incorporate them.
I just thought I'd point that out because it obviously often skews the figures. Thank you.
Thank you, Jackie. Thank you, Councillor Cope, for bringing that to our attention as well. Members, anybody else have any questions? No, in that case, Councillor Allen, this is back to you for, I think, 2 more. So you maybe just give both of them all together and we'll see who wants to answer them.
I was delighted to see the uptake in the online forms at 78%. I think that's very good, but I note that forms for people to use on their phone are quite difficult insofar as not being able to enlarge the print enough for some of these to fill them in adequately when you can see the whole of the question. Is there any thought being given to, especially for some people who might have limited vision or limited ability, to providing some sort of iPad or some kind of device that would actually enable them to fill these things in from home? I know quite a few older people who can manage a form on a larger screen, but cannot manage it on a phone, but they already possess a phone. And I think it would be nice to be able to do something to help them, actually.
Thank you, Councillor Allen. Jackie?
I think I've got to be realistic here in terms of providing equipment of that nature is not something that financially we can sustain. I think what we're trying to do at the moment is actually make things as accessible as possible. So for instance, we're just in the throes of actually launching a mobile app, which will give people far more accessibility because it's designed through a mobile app approach, and that will have much more features. It will have the Recite Me accessibility, so it'll be a lot more user friendly. But I think realistically, we won't be in a position to actually supply equipment because again it starts to administratively become a whole different process, but also the cost of doing that and how you would actually do it. The only thing I would say we have done is where we have had some surplus equipment that has been given out to community groups. So I think in terms of providing it in community facilities where we've been able to, it's a very small number, but where we've ever been able to do that, we will absolutely look to recycle back into the community. But I think realistically, that's as far as we would be able to go.
Lovely, thank you, Jackie. I mean, just on that, really, my thoughts, as Councillor Allen was asking your question, was exactly that. Rather than kit, which comes with its own complications, is actually looking at a mobile-friendly app version and immersive readers, and it looks like that's also included in what you're investigating. So that I think that's pretty good, really. Councillor Allen, your final question.
Thank you. This is about rural transport, particularly in view of the fact that there's been a new plan for the county. And I'm wondering if you've got any feedback about this, because it's something that's seriously concerning people in my village who are 3 miles away from here and can't get here by bus. And I know we have a number of residents who need to come in and out for benefit reasons, or just to access paperwork that they don't know or understand how to fit in and so forth. So the Citizens Advice Bureau is here as well. So in view of that, are there any plans to expand the Citizens Advice Service outwards if we can't get an adequate bus service into this building? And I very much welcome the efforts that have been made to take things out into our communities. It's really helpful. But some people have ongoing problems and don't know how to manage them very well and need to speak to somebody. And sometimes I'm afraid older people prefer to speak to a person than on the phone. They regard it as a breach of their privacy if they're using a phone to do it. I know you know where they stand.
Thank you, Councillor, and I appreciate those comments. And indeed, it reminds me of the time when actually we had a very well used Citizens Advice Bureau in the middle of Womben, and of course it was very sad when Citizens Advice themselves chose to move out. So it's a live one. You're actually moving services away from where people live to other centres. Jackie, have you got comments on that?
Certainly can't really comment on the rural transport. I think unless Annette can, I'm not sure we're ready in terms of we've had any feedback yet on that one. So probably we wouldn't be able to comment on that particularly. In terms of, again, the outreach work you've mentioned, I think that is one of the things we've been very conscious of, that it is trying to provide that front facing wherever we possibly can. And we'll continue to do that. And I think some of that is about where members work with us as well, in terms of identifying places where people actually are going to be in clusters, because unfortunately that's kind of the better way to do it, is more surgery based as opposed to some of the individual. However, we do offer individual visits, and so we do have visiting officers that go out and support members in of the community with form filling. Again, one of the things with the digital work that we're doing is again about trying to make it far more accessible, in terms of, again, not people maybe having to look at a screen. It's that actually audio versions and doing things very differently. I think it's fair to say we probably as a council do far more than a lot of other authorities and neighbouring authorities, but I think we have to be realistic about how far we can go and how much more we can actually do on that front. I suspect we're probably at the point where we offer a package and a range. In terms of Citizens Advice Bureau, they obviously will make their own decisions about where they offer services. But I think, again, one of the things we try to do is link up with them with surgeries and actually trying to make those connections. And again, I think that works exceptionally well in terms of where we can work with them, certainly, to try and increase the outreach.
Lovely, thank you, Jackie. Councillor Allen, you wanted to come back on that?
Yes, just to say about the travel plan, really. When you have some information about that, it seems to drip down very slowly from the county. Please, would you all let us all know? I think a number of us have made representations about this, and it's a serious issue for a lot of people. I know quite a few people who'd love to come in here to go to the cafe, never mind anything else. Yeah, and they're stuck at home, aren't they?
Thank you, Councillor Allen. I think that's just noted. Is it Jackie? Want to? Yep, lovely. Thank you, Councillor. I will take that on board. I think everybody hears that. Members, any other questions on this report? No? Okay, thank you. Does anybody wish to debate it? No? Okay, thank you, everybody. In that case, I draw your attention to the recommendation, which is simply to note the report, and I think we're all agreed in the round what a very good report it is too. So thank you, everybody. In that case, we shall move on to item 5, which is budget monitoring for Q2 ending September 2025. And this report is to be given by Beck. Beck, over to you.
Thank you, Chair, and good evening again, members. Yes, this report sets out the budget monitoring position for the council as at the end of Q2, which is the end of September. As we've already referred to earlier this evening, this is an improved position. So we set a budget with an anticipated surplus of £255,000. The underspend projected at the end of Q2 is £728,000, which increases that surplus to £980,000. As we've already mentioned, that means that our general fund reserves are projected to increase from 7.9 million up to 8.9 million by the end of the current financial year. There are a number of reasons for this underspend. First is the continued improvement in leisure performance, together with reductions in the spend in that area relating to the joint use agreements with schools. Secondly, we are seeing increased income from recycling. Thirdly, we continue to see increased treasury income due to the continuing high interest rates and those reducing more slowly than anticipated. We also expected that we may need to borrow in the current financial year, but that is now looking unlikely. And then we also have improved rental performance in this building, together with reduced utility costs, which is contributing towards that overall underspend. We do have a couple of areas of pressures that those underspends are more than offsetting at the moment, and those pressures are around the new local plan, well, the existing local plan that's going through the process at the moment, and then the need to draw up a new local plan, and also a vacancy that we have at the new Womben unit that we have next to Lidl. So that's in terms of the revenue budget, and capital programme is roughly on target, with the main spend there still to be incurred around the purchase of waste vehicles. So there are a number of appendices to the report. Appendix 1 sets out the overall summary position on the revenue budget. Appendix 2 breaks down the positions for each service area. Appendix 3 shows the impact on earmarked reserves, and then Appendix 4 shows the capital programme. I'm not intending to talk through each of those appendices in detail, but I'm happy to take any questions that members might have.
Lovely. Thank you, Beck, for presenting that report. Again, members, over to you. Any questions? Councillor Allen.
Starting to think I'm the only person who reads this stuff. 3.7. I'm looking at the delay in ratification of the local plan. It's being factored in as a risk factor. Obviously, it's very difficult to know until we get a message back from the government what's going to be involved in this. And I noticed that planning income is down as well, and I'm sure that's a reflection on the budget. I'm waiting for that for another quarter. So I think there are significant possibilities in expenditure, aren't there, if the local plan is refused and we have to go into another local plan. Are you expecting a major set of expenses attached to having to revise the plan that we've put in?
I think that falls to me. I think irrespective of, we know that we've got to start a new plan immediately as soon as this plan, it's across everything that we've got, gets adopted. So I think irrespective of that, we've got a task list to get the new plan off the blocks and significantly through, certainly before within the 30 months that we've got to create a new plan. So I think, in short, whether we get this new plan adopted or not, so this existing plan adopted or not, we've still got a big a big bill to obviously still got to get it finished, got to get this through the examination. It's existing in examination, and the spend hasn't finished on that. And there's also an anticipated bill for the new local plan. The government have said that they will be reducing the amount of evidence that will be required, because it's the evidence, obviously, that's really expensive, and different pieces of surveys and formal experts that we need to be able to defend that plan and that position. But as yet, that hasn't been clarified. So we're kind of working on the almost like a worst case scenario as to what we're going to be needing to spend on the plan. But we know that will be that won't be insignificant amount. But I know if just because we get the new plan, that this existing plan finished and adopted, won't mean that we can sort of sit back and wait for some time. We've got to get straight onto the new plan, and that will incur cost as well.
Lovely, thank you, Annette. Councillor Allen, just going back to your previous comment, I naturally assume everybody in this room just thinks what a great report it is, really. But you've got another question or a comeback on that?
I'm not arguing about it being a great report. I simply want some more detail. Thank you. Just to go back to what you said, Annette, well, obviously we had lots of consultancy for the local plan, and I'm just wondering whether the cost of that consultancy of that type is increasing, and whether we're going to have to put more money on one side to do the new local plan because of that, and whether the amalgamation of the districts and the greater Birmingham housing market pressures are going to add to that as well.
I mean, as I say, there will be a task list, and there will be a whole host of things that we'll need to do to get through the next round of plan making, without a doubt. And there will be some really clear things that we would want to make sure ourselves that we had done. So greenbelt reviews appropriately, so that we are defensible. Obviously, housing market area. We're trying as hard as we can to jointly commission studies where we can do, and if that ends up being with authorities that we may well be joint local planning authority with in the future, obviously that's a bit unclear at the moment in terms of what that may be, because there's some of that's uncertain. So we're looking to minimise costs where we can do. But in terms of the future post LGR, the intention would be, and I think is still, that we get a fair way down the line on our new plan before April 2028, because we would certainly most likely, and this has happened in other authorities and in other counties elsewhere, where they've already gone through this, is that they still maintain their existing local plan, the plan that they're working through, and they adopt each one individually, and it's then that they then start. So we're probably a good at least a plan stage away from having a joint plan. But like I say, we will do as much joint preparation, joint evidence base, partly because it makes good strategic sense that we're all on the same page and we've got the similar evidence base, but also it's hopefully cheaper as well.
Lovely, thank you, Annette, for the explanation there, and Councillor Allen for your questions. Paul, Councillor Harrison.
Thank you, and this is purely to make Councillor Allen feel happier that she's not the only person asking questions. So it's a very minor point, but it struck me as a bit odd. So on page 45, the corporate finance, where it's describing variance against budget, etc., it's got an intriguing commentary in there, which I presume must be a significant amount of money. Otherwise, why would it be identified? But the fact that one business is using a credit card to pay for monthly business rates is affecting the budget. As I say, assuming that that's a significant amount of money overall, why are we allowing them to pay by credit card as opposed to debit card or any other means? Thanks.
Unfortunately, we don't have any choice in the matter. So if they want to pay by credit card, then they are able to pay. We don't have any powers to stop them from paying by credit card. It is something that is of concern to us. It is something that we have contacted them about. So we are looking at options around how we might be able to put them off doing that without going into too much detail, but we don't have any way of stopping them paying by credit card. And obviously if we were to go down the route of trying to do that, the chances are that we might then not end up with it being paid at all, which would be a more of an issue. So unfortunately we don't have any powers on that.
Paul, you want to come back?
Okay, thank you. I was a bit confused because I did do a quick Google search when I read that, and there was lots of councils saying that they didn't for various things, which is hence my question. But then there was also an issue that, is it right that you can add a small charge if they do use a corporate credit card? Because road tax certainly does, I think, for a corporate credit card.
Sorry, it's one of the areas that we've been having a chat about. We don't think we are able to do that. We are looking into it, but initially when we've looked at the guidance, we don't think we are able to do it.
Thank you. I should have assumed you'd be on the case.
Lovely. Thank you, Paul, and thank you, Beck, and featuring Lorraine for the consultation on that. It's good to know, isn't it? We are looking into that. Members, any other questions on this report? No? Oh, Chris Steele from a sedentary position. Councillor Steele.
It's not a question, it's an observation. Perhaps it's because we're not trained accountants, that we don't understand it all.
Thank you, Councillor Steele. Well, you've moved us into debate. If nobody else has any questions, would anybody like to join Councillor Steele in debate? No? Okay, thank you, everybody. Once again, the recommendation here is simply to note the Q2 report for budget monitoring. We move on now to item 6, an update on the member working groups. Lorraine, over to you.
Thank you, Chairman. Good evening, members. The report obviously is as set out before you. It's really just an opportunity for either of the two working group chairmen wanted to do any verbal update further to what's in the report. Otherwise, it's just for noting.
Lovely, thank you, Lorraine. Would any chairman like to speak on this? Councillor Adams.
It'd be very rude of me not to say that we had our meeting just prior to another council meeting when we had two ladies from our council who were talking about AI and what could be done. Now, we as a group, we'd been working on it quite some time. And I was looking around the room because I was sitting down there where Annette is, and there were people coming in and they were thinking, hang on, this is good stuff, because what they were being told was, hang on, we as councillors need to grab hold of this. We've been working our way through a number of things that we've been presented with and we've investigated. And one of the things that came out from this specific meeting was that we believe there is a calling for council members, councillors, to actually have little working groups so they can go on to AI using their system within district council, which will allow them access to an enormous amount of information. And if you're using the council platform, then it gets protected, so it doesn't seep out into the World Wide Web. And the questions that we're asking within our council remain within our council. Spoke to Andy Hort. He said, yes, that's a good idea. We've got another meeting shortly set up, and we were hoping that from here that we would get a tacit approval from the council to say we think that's a good idea, and take that forward in small groups of half a dozen councillors who can actually grab hold of the concept and use it. That's where we were at. So thank you.
Lovely, thank you, Councillor Adams, for that update. Any other working group chairman wish to speak? No. Okay, thank you, everybody. Members, any questions on the report on the working groups. Councillor Allen.
Question about the AI, bullet point 4, 3.3, bullet point 4. Risks and ethical considerations around AI adoption. I wonder what conclusions you have come to.
Thank you, Councillor. Yes, Andy Hall was very good in guiding us in relation to when we ordinarily, as people, go onto our computer and we go onto the AI, we are not protected for whatever information we're asking for. It can, next thing you know, it can appear 2 months down and saying this is a question and actually filling in somebody else's paperwork. Anything that we do and we're using the district council system for artificial is protected. There is a blanket around it or a shield around it so it doesn't seep out anywhere else. Okay? So that is the confidence that we've got using our own, on our laptops here, using the council system. What was the second question, Penny? Sorry, I do apologise.
It's okay. I'm just wondering, it's a question that occurs quite often in the general public. What are the morals and ethics of using AI? And I wonder whether you come to any conclusions yourself and recommendations we should be making to other people who want to use AI in our communities.
Very good question, Penny, and the answer is not yet. We are still working. It was not something that we actually looked at in detail about the models of it. People do, and I'm sure that councillors actually use it themselves to put things together. And if it's not used in a malicious way, then that's absolutely fine. But it is a good question. I will ask that question when we have our next working group meeting. Happy? Thank you.
Lovely. Thank you, Councillor Allen, and Councillor Adams for fielding those questions too. Members, any other questions on the working group committees? No? Okay, thank you, everybody. Does anybody want to debate the working group committee? No? Okay, thank you all. Once again, simply to note the report. Thank you. That's item 6. Item 7. This requires the exclusion of public and press for our final agenda item. So as it is said here, I shall read, to resolve that the press and public be excluded. Please do take time to have a look around and under your desks, everybody, from the meeting during consideration of the following items on the grounds that they are likely to involve the disclosure of exempt information as defined in paragraph 3 of part 1, schedule 12A to the Local Government Act 1972. I will happily propose that we exclude the public and press. Do I have a seconder? Yes, I'll second this. Thank you, Councillor Jackson, and I do note that that Councillor Perry, who offered his apology in this section earlier on, declaring an interest, has also left the room. So thank you, everybody. We will now move into closed session. Oh, sorry, apologies. All right, sorry, everybody. I'm moving on. I'm doing this for you. Stop, please stop me. Everybody. So we have a proposer and a seconder. All those in favour of going to closed session? Feel free to say no, everybody. Lovely. Anybody opposed to that, just for the record? No? Okay, lovely. Thank you all. We shall now move into closed session. Just bear with us, everybody.